So this is the part 2 of the chapter Substances in Daily Use. Now in the first part we learned about different objects and from what these objects are made up of. So the objects are made up of different substances. Whatever objects we use in our everyday life, these are all made up of different substances. They can be made up of glass, metal, plastic, fabric, rubber, wood, etc. and etc. And according to our need, we change the form, we change the shape of these substances. Now next substance is rubber. Now we use many types of rubber. Different materials are made from rubber, like we make eraser, rubber balls, rubber toys, even the wheels of the car or the vehicles are made up of rubber. Now rubber is of two types, natural rubber and artificial rubber. Natural rubber is obtained from trees. From trees, we obtain a white color substance that is called as latex. Now this is also called as the sap of tree or the gum of tree. Now this latex is white in color and it has a peculiar smell. So if you have to obtain a natural rubber, so it is obtained from a natural substance, that is trees. Next is the artificial rubber. Now artificial rubber was actually discovered by Charles Goodyear and he accidentally discovered it. What is this called as? It is called as vulcanization. So what happened in vulcanization was that Charles Goodyear accidentally spilled the mixture of rubber and sulfur on a burning stove. And when he extinguished the stove, he found that there was a hard elastic substance which was formed. And this way he identified it that from natural rubber, we can make artificial rubber by mixing sulfur into it. And artificial rubber can be made with different type of hardness. So in this process, rubber is heated with sulfur for around 3 to 4 hours. Now, if you have to give more hardness to that rubber, then we add more amount of sulfur into it. And if we have to give less hardness, for example, if we have to make a toy of rubber, then it is made up of less sulfur in the natural rubber because we do not require that rubber to be too hard. But if you have to make a tire, so for that we will add more amount of sulfur because tires should be hard. So that is why we change the proportion of sulfur in the mixture according to the purpose of the substance that we have to make. This is called as the vulcanization of rubber. Next is manufacturing of paper. Now paper is a substance which is formed by the cellulose fiber. Now these cellulose fibers are obtained from grass, wood or waste papers. So what they do is they take trees and they cut the trees into logs. Now usually coniferous trees are taken. Now first thing what they do is they cut them into logs. Now those logs are then put into the machine for debarking. Now debarking is nothing but the bark is removed from those logs. Now why the bark is removed? Because the bark is very hard and when making paper, it might interfere with the chemical changes which will be taking place in it. Next, after debarking the log, it is then reduced into small pieces. Then these pieces with some chemicals and dyes, it is added and kept for a very long time. Now after keeping it for a very long time, that is we are soaking it in those chemicals and dye for a very long time, the chemical process happens in it and because of that the fibrous substance is removed from the wood. So the fibers are then separated, which is also called as the pulp. Now this pulp is then put into the pressing rollers. The pulp is then pressed from the rollers. These machines are used and it is pressed and winded into the reels. Now while winding and then after that the paper is produced. So this is the entire process of producing paper. Now you must have seen that so many trees are cut to produce paper. So that is why it is very important that you do not waste paper, because we are getting paper from natural substance which is trees, and if trees will be reduced, indirectly it will lead to global warming and indirectly it will harm our climate and the atmosphere. So that is why use paper sparingly. Now we have used synthetic fibers or thread to make so many different types of cloth. Now as we know that the population is increasing, so to meet the demand of increasing population, there has been many research in the field of synthetic fibers and thread. So in this field, there are new types of fibers or threads which are generated. Now there are different types of fibers which are generated from the artificial materials, so that the burden won't come on the natural material. So there are different types of materials which has been formed, like nylon, dacron, terylene, terene, polyester, rayon, etc. and etc. Now these fibers are made from artificial process, these are man-made, and also these do not require much things from the nature. It can be made from various process which man has produced. So the first example of synthetic fiber is nylon. Now nylon thread is shiny and it is also transparent and also strong and water resistant. Usually clothes, fishing nets, ropes are made up of nylon. If you'll go to a shop and you will say to give you a nylon thread, then he will give you a nylon thread. Now why this name nylon is there? Because it was invented in New York. So that is why, as it was invented in New York and London, so the initials are given to the name, that is NY from New York and LON from London, and the name together is called as nylon. Next is synthetic silk. Now, if you will go and buy natural silk, it is very expensive. But synthetic silk is cheaper and also it is almost same as the natural silk. Now, this has shine and it also has strength. It usually appears very shiny in sun rays. Now, how it is made? So, it is made by using cotton and wood pulp. Now cotton and wood pulp, it is dissolved in chemical which is called as sodium hydroxide. And then from this sodium hydroxide, after dissolving it, the substance which is obtained, it is then used into the machines, and with lot of chemical changes, then we get synthetic silk. This silk is almost same as the natural silk. Next is Dacron. Now, Dacron is specially known for its durability and also for its consistency and quality. It is not like natural fiber. It is very soft and also it is used wide over. Next is Terylene. Now, terylene is a synthetic polyester fiber and it is produced by polymerization of ethylene glycol and tetraphthalate acid. And usually these two things are obtained from petroleum. This is also a very expensive material. Next is terene. Now this is also made by polymerization. Now various hydrocarbons which are obtained from mineral oils are used to make polymer chains. A solution of such polymer is pressed through a strainer with a fine holes. The fiber formed after cooling are long and unbroken thread, and these are then twisted into yarns. So by all these methods, we obtain dacron, terene and terylene. Now as we want the different type of fibers, so we use different types of chemicals to produce that thread. Now according to the properties, like what type of cloth you have to make, we will change the chemical. and in these chemicals then there is a polymer chain which is formed, and then this from these chemicals only we get different threads and we name them as dacron, terene, terylene and so on. Usually these three types of synthetic fibers, they are used in day-to-day life because it's easy to prepare them. Now there are two terms which are new to you. First is hydrocarbon. Now you may be thinking, what is hydrocarbons? Now hydrocarbons is nothing but it is a substance which is obtained from mineral oil. Now mineral oil is obtained from the nature. So these substances are obtained from these mineral oils. And another thing that you may be thinking is about polymerization and polymer chain. So polymer is nothing but a long continuous chain formed by small or the chemical units which are linked together. So these are called as polymers. That is small units. These are all linked together and they form a polymer chain. That is a continuous chain. That is why they are called as polymer chain. And the process is called as polymerization.